following thoughts, opinions, stories, and expressions are meant for those who will appreciate them. If you don't, we hope you keep an open soul to encounter another here on 34 Questions. Peace. In 3, 2, 1. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. I am your host, 34, and tonight I am joined by Julien Quickstad. How are you doing today, Julien?
Good. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right, man. It's just another regular Tuesday. Had work. Actually went to the doctor's today, man. I don't know when's the last time you've been to the doctor, but it's very anxiety inducing sometimes, especially when you're getting older. So I have been having this like bum shoulder after like rock climbing when I probably shouldn't have. And it's funny because my doctor was telling me like, I think you're a little too overweight to be rock climbing right now. So I'm like, damn, like why you gotta tell me that? So it was a reality check. Gotta lay off the carbs and snacking. That's pretty much like my downfall when it comes to my health. But other than that, man, it's been a chill day. Just want to thank you again for making time to stop by the show and share your story, man. Definitely appreciate it. For the folks out there who are unfamiliar with the flow of the show, we do some intro questions just to set the tone. After that, we'll jump into a couple icebreakers. After the icebreakers, we'll turn to the Wheel of Fate, where we'll spin the wheel. Whichever number it lands on, that's where the conversation will kind of flow. And then after that, we'll finish it off with some closeout questions. Sound good to you, Julien?
Sounds good.
All right, man. Well, let's start it off. My very first question for you is, how have you been? You've been doing well. You've been doing great. How you been lately, man?
I've been doing great. So actually, this weekend here, I got married on Saturday.
Oh, snap, dude. Congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So it was an awesome day. It was a little stress going up into it, but like the day of, it was just serene. So that.
No, go for it.
Yeah. And you know what? Yesterday I went to the dentist too, and I just absolutely hate the dentist, and he told me my teeth were dirty as usual, but should floss more kind of thing. But
yeah, we should all
I've been
floss
doing
more.
Good.
Yeah. I hear you, man. I don't know if you've ever tried the water pick. That's something that I'm trying to get a loophole with flossing, so I don't have to like go. I don't know why we hate flossing. Maybe we're afraid that it's gonna hurt, but we seem to, as adults, always seem to avoid it. I'm not sure why. But I'm glad to hear you're doing well, man. Congratulations again on the wedding. I hope I'm not catching you on your honeymoon. Like, yeah.
No. It'll be next week.
Gotcha. Well, I'm glad I could catch you in the in-between time. But for sure. My second question for you in the warm-up is, what would you like the audience to know about you?
I guess, are we going to go further into my backstory a little more in the show, or?
We'll go as far as you want to. If this is the time you want to kind of let people know your backstory, feel free.
Sure, I can do it now. So where I'll start, say 3-4 years ago, I was in quite a toxic relationship. Near the end of that, I was getting into some cocaine and drinking a lot. And I don't know if anyone knows, but like usually cocaine is strongly cut with meth. So basically I was doing a lot of meth. I don't know, maybe a year and a half where I was just a lot of drugs, and I just was not in a good state of mind. A couple suicide attempts. Nothing, looking now, I'm completely comfortable with that, but it took me a while to climb out of that hole. So now, fast forward, I am in my second year of a psychology degree, and I'm planning to go towards clinical psychology and use that experience that I had to hopefully change someone else's life for the better.
For sure, man. Thank you for sharing that part of your story. I know it's not always easy to open up about, drug use and, just addiction. I don't know if that's what you considered yourself you were at the time. But yeah, that's a tough issue to talk about. I do want to ask you about psychology and why you chose that to be the field that, you're jumping into. Meth is crazy. It also has affected my family. My dad that was his drug of choice when he was around my age. So I kind of I think he did a great job of hiding it from me. Growing up, it wasn't something that I think I was fully aware of until he finally told me when I was around 14 years old. That's when he sought out help, and it has been clean and sober for, if that was when I was 13, almost 20 years now.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a major win. So I didn't know that about cocaine being cut with meth. Is that like that? Now you got me worried about maybe some of my homies that have, that have chosen coke as like maybe something they try more often. Should I be asking them about that? Should I be like, hey man, like, are you sure this is all it is? Or like, how common is it to be cut with meth? Yeah.
Honestly, I heard, like, I'm from Canada, and I heard like 75% of coke is cut with it. But like, if you don't know what, like, the cocaine high should not last very long. But if you're up for 2 days straight, that's probably meth.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. For sure. All right, that gives me a little more that relaxes me a little bit, because I don't think my homies I've ever seen them be up for a couple days.
Okay, good.
Yeah. For sure. But yeah, tell me about psychology. Like, why did that interest you, and why are you proceeding with that?
So for a while, I didn't even know how to, like, I think it's kind of the stereotype of being a man and trying to figure out your own problems. I grew up in rural Alberta. So if you don't know what it's like there, it's almost like the Texas of Canada.
Okay.
So you got those values of like doing your own stuff. You deal with your own problems. You don't want to show weakness, kind of thing. And I struggled for a while I didn't want to get help, and I wanted to do it myself. So I was doing a lot of research. Obviously, I couldn't do it by myself, so I eventually did get some help, but I have a love for researching psychology. So I'm like, we actually, me and my wife now, we have a podcast called Psychology with My Wife, and that's what we do, is I pick a psychology topic, and then we kind of have the layman conversation, like not the real academic one. You can actually use it in your everyday life, but that's basically why I went back to school. That have that day-to-day job, you can actually really enjoy doing it and want to wake up and do that.
For sure. Did you go to school before, or this is the first time?
I did actually. I did it was a diploma program, and it was a power engineering. So basically that's operating refineries, heavy oil facilities and stuff like that. So Shell, all those kind of things.
Yeah. And you've lived on the oil rigs before, no? Or
more so in the plant.
Gotcha.
I wasn't actually on the rigs yet. So basically, they pull it out of the ground, right? And then the oil is sent to my facility, is what it was doing.
Gotcha. Well, that's a major turn, man, from working with oil to working with people. But I'm glad that you find something that you feel like suits you more now. And I'm just curious, you talked about solving problems. Has any new stuff that you've learned been relatable to your life and kind of helped you process some of the things you've been going through?
Definitely. Like, I learn a lot every day. A majority of the stuff is how do you, I believe that you should, especially when you're helping someone else, you should come from a position of strength. So how do you be vulnerable while also seeming like you have the fertility, is that the word? I don't know, but
it's cool.
Actually give advice, because like when I look up, I want help from someone. I don't want help from someone who doesn't know what they're doing. I want to look at them like, I want his life, kind of thing. So a lot of the research I've been doing is, how do you do that?
Gotcha. And what's the difference between like a psychologist versus a therapist? Is that two different things, or they say the same thing?
So all counselors are psychologists, but not all psychologists are counselors.
I got you. That makes sense.
So
Makes sense.
you can do research and stuff through psychology. I think officially to be a psychologist, you have to have your PhD.
Are you headed towards that, or you kind of?
Yes, I'm definitely gonna make it there one way or another.
For sure, man. It's a interesting topic. Like that's definitely something that's crossed my mind, because I have done therapy before, and I do enjoy, obviously the podcast, getting to know people, getting to know what they're going through, and also hopefully giving them an avenue to. I am not licensed at whatsoever, but I think just providing the space might be, a little valuable, even though I don't have the advice to give out there. So for you, are you thinking research side or, therapeutic side?
I want to do counseling, but I want to become a clinical psychologist, and that will work with the more severe psychological disorders, so like bipolar, schizophrenia, stuff like that, on the more extreme spectrum of mental health.
I got you for sure. We'll move on to my third question in the warm-up, which is, if I could do something, if I could express the energy you possess, what could I do? What sort of act could I do in your honor?
To have the same energy as me? Am I understanding that correct?
Sort of like, if let's say you moved away and your friends, it's your birthday, they want to celebrate you or send you some kind of energy. What could we do since you're far away that would be in your honor?
You know what? Maybe kind of not copy me, but kind of set an example for the people around you. I try to be that leader. You lead by example kind of thing, and I think that's how I would like to be honored.
For sure. Now we know. And my last question for you in the warm-up is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know yourself?
Ooh, do we ever fully know ourselves?
You tell me.
I'm gonna say, I'm 25 right now. I'm gonna say I probably know myself a 5. If I was naive, 8, but I'm not as naive anymore.
I got
probably
you.
5. Yeah.
Was there ever a point in time in your life that you felt like you were at a 10? Just curious.
I was probably 18 when I first went to college. I was like, I know everything. My whole plan. I got this whole plan. I'm gonna buy a house at this age. I'm gonna do this job forever.
Yeah, I mean, I told myself at 18 I was going to retire at 30, so here I am. I'm 33 or 32. I keep saying I'm 33, man. I feel like there's something going on with me, but I do know I'm 32. I'm not there yet, but I hear you, man. I think, I think I'm going to start asking that question a little more, just to see if all of us kind of have that unique experience of feeling like we know it all at 18. It's a weird age. But yeah, for sure. But what would you say is your favorite thing about your personality?
You know what? I really did not before I went through all this addiction and stuff, I did not like how weak I was to adversity. So I think I do have a strong resilience now, and I have a lot of skills that really help me in day to day to overcome some not necessarily severe things that happen, but the stresses of daily life, I guess.
I hear you. And any question I ask, feel free to either pause or let me know that you'd rather not talk about it. There's no pressure to answer any of these questions. But my previous podcast, I actually just said, I admitted on air that I feel like I'm an addict as well, but more so with weed. I know that's super weak for all the hardcore people out there being addicted to weed, but for you, what were some noticeable differences you could tell from yourself versus I guess your sober self versus when you were in that time, in that dark place?
So I would say the biggest one would be like anxiety over like social situations. You would think that like drinking alcohol or cocaine would give you that boost of energy and you want to be super social. But then there was a point when I would use it and it would do the opposite, but I would still use it. If that makes sense. And that was something at the height of my addiction that I knew something was like wrong and I didn't know how to solve it. And then now I'm a lot more confident with myself when I'm sober.
I hear that, man, for sure. I think, something relatable for me is that at family parties, for sure, I don't think I like to smoke before a family party anymore, just because that anxiety definitely heightens for me. And I don't know what it is. I think, if you're going to counsel me, it'd have to do a lot with, how people perceive me and how I'm aware of that and, want to shape that, I guess, reputation or how I come off with people. Like, that's constantly on my mind when I'm, I guess when I'm high. And
Yeah.
It is a different, I guess, I could admit it's a different person that you see. Like, on this show, I don't smoke before the show. I, try to be clear-headed as much as possible. But I think that's what I'm growing into, maybe using less, and just, trying to do more. I don't want to say do more good, but just do better. And because I think for me, like, I feel like I'm a person that likes to interact with people and, just give them a positive experience, interacting with me. And when I'm high, it's not that I can't do that, but I know I'm way more quiet. I'm way more like, just to myself versus, being active in conversations and, being the first person, to act upon it. But yeah, I just want to thank you. Oh, good.
I agree with you. I used to smoke weed too, and it was almost like I tried to smoke weed to like calm myself, but then I would end up, it's like I had these negative thoughts and then the weed would just make me kind of dissociate and get in my head. And I think that made it worse because I would like turn into a recluse kind of. I wouldn't actually want to go out.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I know you don't know me in my personal life, but I am a homebody. All my friends try to get me out, and I'm just like, nah, I'd rather just stay at home. Maybe it's the weed. But yeah, it's something that still, I am struggling with, working through. But maybe one day when we catch up, I could tell you a different story. But just want to say thank you again for sharing your story. All right, man. So we're going to head over to the ice-breaking scene. But before we do that, if the folks out there, if you are enjoying the content, please like if you might, share if you care, subscribe for a vibe you didn't know was there. If you enjoy that. All right, moving on to the icebreakers. Here we are. The first icebreaker is going to be a point of view icebreaker where I will give you a statement and you just kind of let me know if you think it, if you agree with it, you disagree, and why. So,
okay.
My first statement for you is overthinking is a bad thing.
True. And I think it just ends up leading, pretty much when you overthink that the answer before you even start overthinking.
Wait, what do you mean by that?
You know how it's like if you overthink, I've been told to like flip a coin, and as you're flipping the coin, you're gonna know which one you want as you're flipping the coin.
I got you.
I don't know if you've heard that before.
I've heard the one when you flip the coin and if it lands and depending on your reaction, then you knew what you really wanted to do.
Right, yeah.
Now I got you. So you're saying that when you overthink, you already know, but you just want to keep like putting it off, like what do you?
Maybe it's like it's depending on what you're overthinking about. It's either a self-doubt or like anxiousness of pushing through something that's maybe a little difficult for you, but it's the way you should go. Yeah,
no, it's true. I think I don't know for you, I consider myself a very good, I forgot what it's called when you try to defend your actions, even though you think you probably know it's the wrong thing to do, but you're just like, oh, I need this, or this helps me with that, so you're justifying it when you try to justify your actions. I am guilty of that for sure. I'm probably the best one out there when it comes to that. But yeah, no, I hear you, man. And then my second statement for you is, it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
That's a tough one. I think that's not true.
Gotcha.
I'm guilty of doing that sometimes, but I think it's probably the wrong thing to do. Usually the thoughts through my head, it's like, you know what? He's just gonna say no, and I want this, or she's gonna say no, and I won't be able to do this, so I'm just gonna do it anyway. So maybe, yeah, I'm gonna say it's not true because it's a little selfish most of the time for me.
I see. Yeah, the selfishness. Selfishness is hard, man. Like, I in society right now, how much percentage do you think people are acting selfish versus, being more altruistic? I think that's the word.
I would say, it's probably like 70% of people. I don't know, maybe that's really negative, but especially over COVID, everyone just started caring about themselves.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. And that's where, as far as coming from a place of understanding, that's where I try to keep my mindset at. Like, everybody's a little selfish. I think at the end of the day, people are going to do what's best for them. And if that's bad for me, I can't be mad at them, because I think I would do the same thing. So that's where I usually come from.
But I guess you got to be a little selfish, though. You got to set some boundaries on things, because if you are completely selfless, you can get taken advantage of quite easily.
For sure. I mentioned being a homebody. I think that's when I'm most of the time selfish. But outside from in my day job, or how I run the podcast, or just interact with people when I'm not just by myself, that's where I feel like I'm more, I guess, those are the two sides of me. And that's where I think everything is in balance. So when I'm around people, I'm this person that's selfless and kind of, always sacrificing, I think. And then when I'm by myself, I take my time, I take, my space, and I wish I could be better at it, but like, as far as justifying it for myself, that I think that's where it comes into play, where I'm like, oh, I'm so like this around people that when I do take time to myself, I stay home, I feel like, oh, I need this because I've had given so much. Whether it's right or wrong, I'm not sure, but I think that's where I'm at when it comes to being selfish.
Are you an introvert then? I guess you're like recharge at home by yourself.
Yeah. I definitely recharge when I'm at home by myself. I was always on the fence about it, because since I enjoyed talking to people, I always thought I was an extrovert, right? But then somebody kind of framed it in my mind of like, so when you are with people, do you feel like you're giving energy or you're taking energy? And then, for me, I'm like, always, I talk about giving a good vibe, or, helping out with the work environment or whatever. So I guess I'm giving energy, and that was the defining, I guess, statement that for me, I was like, oh, I'm definitely introverted because I give energy when I'm around people. But when I'm by myself, that's when I recharge. So it makes a lot of sense. And I used to take those personality tests and everything, and the trouble with that is that I think a lot of people like myself, we put in the answers of the person we want to be, not necessarily who we really are. So that's the danger of it. It had me believing this whole time I was extroverted and I was like introverted. But yeah, how about yourself? What would you consider yourself?
I like that way of looking at it, actually, is do you give or take energy in social situations. I would say I actually I like recharging by myself, but I also like going out and being social. But I just, like, for example, the wedding, I had an amazing time talking with everyone, all the friends and family and stuff. But afterwards I was like, whew, I need some time to myself. Like, I almost get a little angry and like irritated. It's like, leave me alone.
Yeah, no, it's crazy how, like, I don't know if you've heard that Jim Carrey quote. He talked about how being alone is addicting too, because like you definitely don't have to worry about how you interact with people. You don't have to worry about their thoughts. You don't have to contribute to the conversation. It's just, when you're by yourself, it's like you can do whatever you want, and no one's really gonna stop you from doing it. But in social situations, you take in consideration of what everybody else wants or what everybody else is doing, and that can get tiring.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I kind of relate.
I was definitely, one thing after going through all this addiction and stuff like that, I noticed I was quite selfish, because I would go hang out by myself because I needed to recharge, but then I would almost ghost all my friends. Not completely, but I just wouldn't take the time to add to their life, if that makes sense. And then I would just want to go out one day. I'll be like, hey, let's do this tonight. I want to hang out tonight. And they're like, well, it's kind of busy for me. I was like, well, I want to do it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely make a note to touch base with all my friends more regularly now, and actually ask those questions. How you doing? Like, what's up in your life right now? Make sure it's a give and take.
For sure. That's a soft spot for me, and I think if any of my friends are listening to this, they're gonna be like, I should be taking that advice. I definitely end up defaulting to, since I don't go out as much as they ask me to go out, I feel bad, and then I'm like, maybe I should never ask them to go out because of that. It's like, I don't want them to feel like, oh, we're only gonna hang out when 34 wants to hang out. So I end up choosing to avoid it all and be like, okay. And we've had these conversations before, and I hope they've shown that they understand where I'm coming from, so that helps. But definitely, I think with any relationship, you gotta put in that time and availability, whether it's friends, your partner, family, and I've been dropping the ball on all three maybe, but yeah, I always come through, have revelations when I have these talks, so I just want to thank you for helping me have those revelations.
No problem.
All right, man, we're gonna move on to the second icebreaker. This one is a word association. It's called word for word. I'm going to give you a word. You give me the first thought or first word that comes to mind for you, and you're going to have 34 seconds to do as many as you can.
Okay, let's see how fast I can do this.
The record is 12 right now. So
12?
Okay. Yeah, 12 and 34 questions. I'll let you know. I'll count it down for you. So here we go. In 3, 2, 1, life.
Long.
Hope.
Living.
Culture.
Needed.
Success.
Personal.
Art.
Selfless.
Fear.
Everyone.
Crazy.
Myself.
Regret.
Forgiveness.
Ooh. You got 8.
Oh, okay.
But
that's harder than you think.
Yeah. It is. I mean, I've had some people just breeze through it, but I don't. It was interesting because they didn't really think. I could tell they were just saying the next word that came out. But I appreciate you participating, and don't worry. I think it was a good run. You talked about. I said crazy, and I believe you said myself. Well, what do you mean by that? Or why did myself come to mind for you?
I think, well, maybe there's a stereotype of myself, just my own mental illness. I was diagnosed with bipolar a while ago, and I don't feel comfortable talking about it. Like I do, but I'm not going to bring it up in conversation like, hey, this is me. Because there is that, I don't want to be judged as that crazy person.
Yeah.
Yeah. That, and with the addictions and stuff, I choose who I tell that to.
I gotcha.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I want to thank you again for sharing it with me and sharing it with my audience, man.
No problem.
I think it's a little bit empowering, right? If you tell the right people that understand and are willing to hear the rest of the story, not just, just one part and then judge you based on that.
Exactly. I guess, yeah, if you have the time to share the story, it's a little easier to be personal about it. But just in like the passing and be like, hey, this is me. And then they fill in the blanks. Not be true.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that's a big reason why I do stay quiet. I'm generally a quiet person in other situations besides the show. And I think I do it because I don't want people filling in the holes. Like, oh, they'll know this about me, and they'll be like, oh, this is the kind of guy he is. And then I'm like, you don't even know me. Or like, I could be totally different from the image that you have in your head. But no, I hear you. As far as, you could tell me if you don't want to talk about it, but how did you come to the realization that maybe you should get checked out for bipolar?
So it was actually like, when I was doing the power engineering, I was doing shift work. So it was 7 days, and then I would have 7 days off and then 7 days of nights. And every time I would switch over to nights, I would get, like, I don't have any, it's not severe bipolar by any means, but I would notice a few days I would be extra energetic, and then I would absolutely crash. That was one of the telltale signs. And also when I was drinking, it would cause me I'd get quite hyper drinking, but then afterwards, even if it was like 2 or 3 drinks, I would just get very depressed for a week. Like, it wasn't just the day after where you're hungover. Like, I'd be a week where I just barely could move. So I got checked out and got me on some pills and stuff. And I've been doing therapy for a while. And yeah.
You think it's helped you like kind of even out a little bit?
Oh, definitely. Like, the biggest struggle with it is not knowing the like triggers and stuff. It just like felt you were just like out of control. Or I felt like I was out of control with my emotions and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not a good feeling.
No, I hear you. Yeah. I don't think, I've met some people who have said they're bipolar, but I don't know for everyone else's experiences out there, but they would tell me, but I would never recognize it. I feel like only the person that's going through it is going to know how they're really feeling. Like, so I think that's the dangerous thing about it too, is that people around you may not notice, versus like for you, did you feel like anybody was asking you about it? Like, hey, you should, or yeah?
No, obviously it was pretty, like, I come from a smaller town. The addiction part of it, definitely people notice, but like not the bipolar part.
I gotcha. That's it for the icebreakers. We'll move back onto the main stage. And before we get to the Wheel of Fate, kind of want to ask you, so you're from Alberta, and are you still in Alberta or have you moved?
So I guess on my license, everything says Alberta. I'm in school in Toronto right now. That's where I'm doing my psychology degree.
Gotcha. And is Toronto the place to settle, or is it just a place to learn and then, I
think, I have 3 more years there, so we're for sure going to be living there for 3 years, and we'll see after then, but it's a completely different vibe than where I grew up, so.
Gotcha.
I don't know about that.
I hear you. I just visited Toronto maybe right before the year before the pandemic. I went out there, and it's a good vibe, man. I really like the diversity, and I felt like people were friendly for the most part. I don't know, maybe you know different Toronto than I did, but yeah, man, it was a good time.
Yeah, it was definitely friendly. But I guess it's complete polar opposite of where I grew up. Like the town I grew up in maybe had 50 residents.
50 residents?
Yeah, and then it was like a lot of people lived on the farm, but it's still very, very, very small community.
Did everyone know each other? Is that kind of community?
Definitely, yeah.
For sure. I've never experienced that, and I always tell myself maybe as I get older and is ready to settle down, I'd be down for a small town experience. Not 100% sure, but I think I guess if done right, there could be a lot of positive that comes from a small community. Mm-hmm. But I know not everything goes the right way, so I can also see how a small community can be a negative thing when everybody knows your business.
yeah but Matt, if you like being by yourself, hey, just get a little acreage outside a small community. You can just get her by a small lake. It'll be golden.
That sounds bomb to me, man. All right, man, let's pull up the wheel. Let's see if I can get it out here. There it goes. I'm gonna give it a spin, and like I said earlier, if there's any question, because these questions can get kind of deep, so you let me know if there's something you don't want to talk about. It's fine. First number is number 3, right there at the edge, but number 3 is, when was the last time you forgave yourself?
Let's just say one that comes to mind is like a month ago. I quite often have I have a lot of regret in my life, and I know it's not healthy, but then every once in a while I'll get a wave of forgiveness for myself, and it makes me feel a lot more energetic.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And I would say most of my regret comes from how I was just being when I was in the midst of my addiction. And I know I wasn't that type of person, so I try to forgive myself for that.
I hear you. Do you think it's easy? Does it come easy to you to forgive yourself, or is it still kind of difficult?
Well, it seems like I can forgive myself for some things, and then some things are a little more stuck in my head. So it takes some time. Some of them it takes like weeks of kind of like almost meditating on it before it kind of breaks away. For sure.
I mean, I'm with you, man. Like I said, I still kind of struggle with addiction, and the past 12 years of use has definitely left me with a lot of regrets. A lot of things that I wish I could let go, which I haven't. Honestly, I don't think I have. I think it pushes me to, in a way, maybe this is a negative way to do it, but there's some kind of motivation, like I can be better, I can do better, so keep going, even though I haven't really let go all those times where I should have done more in the past. The past is always behind us. It's like a shadow that follows us. So yeah, it's for anyone out there who has figured it out, please let me know how to do it. But yeah, how about forgiving others? Does that come easy to you?
Forgiving others is super easy. I like going into psychology a lot of the time. I'm like, yeah, it makes sense why they did that. It's hard to be mad at someone when you know why they did it.
For sure. I was just listening to another podcast, and they were joking about how it seems like everybody goes through stuff, and now that trauma is like a buzzword for a lot of folks. For you, is there a definitive line of how you would define trauma versus somebody that's just venting about maybe something that's happened? Yeah,
I think there's a difference between something that's like distressing or like doesn't sit well with you, that makes you angry and stuff, and like trauma. Like, are you waking up in the middle of the night thinking about it, or is it like occupying your thoughts a lot during the day, or is it just something that you'll think about once every month or something like that. I don't know. There is obviously different extents to trauma, but I think there is sometimes where, like you said, it's just a buzzword that people like to throw in there. Maybe it's for some sympathy or something, but
Yeah, no, I hear you. And then how much do you think of trauma? I'm curious because this is something I'm going through, and I want to hear your perspective on it. But how much of trauma is kind of self-inflicted? You know, like when I think about my past, and you're right, maybe I have a huge problem with rejection. Like it keeps me from, you know, just even opening the possibilities or the opportunities, because I already think that the worst thing that could happen is that they'll reject me, and it'll give me that sinking feeling that I've had since I was a kid, when I was rejected as a kid, you know. So I think there's a part of it where the people that have rejected me, I don't think that was their intent. So I think myself, just because I've held on to it and I let it affect me so much, that I almost, you know, tell myself like, bro, like it's all in your head. This is you're doing it to yourself at this point. But yeah, so how much of trauma do you think is self-inflicted?
Okay, I'll try to explain how I think of it, even from personal experience with that toxic relationship I had. So people wonder why the victim in a toxic relationship or someone who's being abused stays with that person. So maybe at the start of the relationship, they stood up for themselves, and then they weren't successful in standing up for themselves. So the next time it happened, they tried again and were unsuccessful. Then the time after that, they were even more unsuccessful, and it kind of wears you down. And the part that it's self-inflicted is it's you thoughts about how helpless you feel, I guess, is how I look at it. So the more it happens, the more helpless you feel, and you have no control over the situation. So then you start to have this bias in your day-to-day life for the next, it doesn't have to be the same person. Say if it happens with someone else in your next relationship, you're not going to stand up for yourself at the slight adversity of the similar situation. I don't know if that makes any sense.
No, it does. Like you continue to carry it onto other relationships. So after saying that, I feel like the only real solution is to communicate when you're feeling that way. Like you immediately don't want to let it sit in your mind and let it grow, versus, you know, once you let it out, maybe there's a chance that you get the help. Maybe a new partner can help you with that. Would you say communication is the key when it comes to that?
100%. Because if it gives you anxiety when it happens, you kind of want to change that exact situation. I guess that's what happens in exposure therapy, is you kind of experience the same situation in a safe environment that helps you, tricks your brain thinking oh, this is happening now, it's not the past, and this is what'll happen when I actually open up. Good things come of it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't even that was a good tie-in to exposure therapy for sure. I didn't think those two were related, but I can definitely see how it can be helpful. But for sure, thank you for giving me your 2 cents. Give the wheel another spin. Here we go. Number 11. And number 11 is, what are you currently struggling with? And is there any type of support that you need?
What am I currently struggling with? I think going back, like I said, I was 25, so I went to school, I got addicted to drugs, felt like an absolute loser, and then now I'm that person who's 4 years older than all their classmates. So I do struggle. I'm getting better with it every year that I'm in school, but I struggle with feeling like that outcast almost, or that person that didn't follow the normal chain of events in their life.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Or not being feeling unsuccessful to the people that know me. I guess, like a failure in that sense.
For sure, for sure. Is there any support like we the world, the universe can kind of send to you to deal with that?
You know what? My wife does an awesome job of making sure that I feel supported and kind of throw out those thoughts, irrational thoughts. I guess if I was to ask for one thing, it's just like, give me that courage to be on my own path. Doesn't matter what anyone else says. I'm doing my thing.
For sure. Shout out to wifey for that. We definitely need good support systems in our life. And I think that's a huge thing for me too, man. Like, I've been thinking about going back to school, doing more, doing something different. I went to college, not realizing really what I wanted to do. So I'm not going to say it was wasted time, but it was definitely time I could have spent better, or been more intentional with. So yeah, I think about going back to school and being that outcast, being the old head. And the longer I wait, the older I get, and the kids stay the same age. So like, I'll be older than the professor sometimes, and I'll be like, damn, man, I'd have to just humble myself a little more, right?
It is humbling, yeah.
For sure. I mean, for you don't feel like you don't have any comrades in the school or like in class, just being like, oh yeah, we the old ones, we the OGs,
There is some people like that. You know what? I feel old because they're like, the language they use in their conversations, I'm like, what does that even mean? Like, I remember when and like 16 even, and we still had the flip phones, and you use all these like different shortened words and acronyms and stuff, and it's the same thing now. Like, I have no clue what they mean.
Well, there's new acronyms, right?
Oh yeah.
What's it called? Yeah, you can imagine me I'm 32 and I work with high school students, and I feel super old when they put something in our group text that's like, and I have to be like, what's that mean? And they're like, oh, this guy. But yeah, it's a trip, but it's also that experience, right? Because you're in school again, you're the person in your friend group that knows all these things now, and then they're like, oh damn, like, look at you, still young.
Yeah. I do this. I don't think I would be able to pursue a psychology degree and potentially do a PhD if I did this when I was 18. I have like so much more life skills now, and I'm very intentional with what I want to do. So it gives me the strength, focus, or whatever to actually like overcome the hardships.
Mm-hmm. Well, what would you say is a life skill that you didn't have at 18, but you feel like you have now?
I don't know. Have you ever heard of a growth versus a fixed mindset?
No, tell me more. Tell me more. Break it down for me.
Yeah, so it's this psychologist, I can't remember where she is, but she wrote a book called The Growth Mindset, or Mindset. And a growth mindset's basically when you're faced with adversity, rather than like shy away or think that you're not good enough to do that, you treat it as a challenge and want to improve yourself. Whereas someone with a fixed mindset, they do the things that are easy to them and avoid the things that are hard to them.
I see.
So now, yeah, when I look at the things that are hard right now, I look at them as a challenge, and I need to do this to be successful. Whereas before, I would have just avoided them and be like, you know what? I'm going to go down this path because I'm not good at that. Where now I have an end goal in mind and I'm going to do it.
For sure, man. I'm so happy that you've been able to get that growth mindset at 25, because I think it took me until I was 30 to, I think, embrace it more. Now that you describe it, I'm like, okay, I can definitely see that's the kind of person I am, or I was. And I still think I am working on it always. I think we always working on our downfalls and our faults. So yeah, for me, like right now, I'm definitely in that moment with this show. In the beginning, when I was starting, this was probably the point where that felt challenging. And then now that I've done it long enough, I'm like, okay, now I'm comfortable in this space. The next step is to do in-person interviews, which, I've been gathering the equipment to do so. It's really on me to take that action. but I think I need to continue working on having that growth mindset, because I get anxious, I get nervous, and I think to myself, like, nobody's gonna be there if I do this in person. So let me take a deep breath.
It's hard. Yeah.
No, for sure. So for you, what's besides school, and I think marriage is another challenge as well. What's another challenge that you feel like you've been, either that you've been going at head first?
You know what? Like, I was an athlete. I played on the a college volleyball team when I went to school previously. So I've always been athletic in my life until like after the last like 3-4 years, and I'm just like, I just crave carbs all the time, and I have a hard time working out. So like, that's my biggest challenge now, is like fighting the urge to eat.
I am definitely, because of my doctor's appointment, because they told me to lay off the carbs and snacking, I am definitely in that mindset as well. So
yeah,
we're in it together, man. You are not alone. Just a heads up, we have about 10 minutes left in the podcast. Just want to thank you again for stopping by, and I hope you're having fun.
I am. This is a great conversation.
For sure, man. So at this point, do you have a hard stop at 7 or not 7?
No, I'm good.
Okay, I think we got time for one more spin then. I want you to get one more spin in before we move on. And this one is number 4. This question is, how much do you believe in yourself?
I have waves. I think now I guess that's a struggle, is believing in myself. I do it, and my wife does a good job of making me believe in myself. She's kind of like the person that believes in me when I don't, and reminds me. But I would say I'm about 75-25 right now for believing in myself. And I guess that just, I think, means that the next day is going to be brighter than the last, kind of thing. It's not dealing with depression. I would say I didn't believe in myself, and it just felt like it was just always going downhill. I didn't have the strength to overcome it. Whereas now I'm really excited to overcome things.
That's what's up, man. I'm glad you're in a better space. And, I know you got wifey as a believer. Just know you got this total stranger believing in you too, man. I think anything you're trying to get done, you can get done. So if you need another reminder.
Yeah, thanks, man.
No problem.
I can use all the reminders.
Sure.
I definitely think, again, when I was 18, I feel like I had this false belief in myself. I felt like I could do anything in the world.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and it was, I think maybe more so because I didn't understand myself, that I had these maybe egotistical beliefs that I'm going to be the best at everything, where I'm a little more grounded now. And it doesn't, I have that growth mindset where it doesn't hurt so much when I'm not perfect at something the first time I try it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just being humble with it, man. Because I know I feel you on that too. When I was 18, and still a little bit sometimes now, I do believe that whatever I pick up, I can do. But I have to be real and be I'm not going to do it as well as anybody else that's been spending a lot of time on it, or, being really good at it. Yeah, I can't compare. And earlier you were talking about how, you just got kind of, you got being in class with all these other students, and feeling like an outcast, and trying to focus on what you're doing is a pretty hard thing when you're constantly reminded. For you, it's in your daily life, and probably also, I don't know how much you use social media, but that's something that just seems to hit us in waves of oh, this is what everybody else is doing. What are you doing with your life? And I'm fuck, man. Yeah. So I definitely feel that, man. All right. So we've reached the end of our podcast. We do have a couple things to do before I let you go. This next part is called the 34th mantra. So I'm going to challenge you to create a mantra here on the show. The phrase is I am, I can, I will. So I am blank, I can blank, I will blank. Take a second to think about that. Let me know when you're ready.
So, I can, I will.
What
was the third one?
I am, I can, I will. This is probably the most uncomfortable part of the podcast because I'm going to switch you to a screen where it's like a reflection. You're talking to yourself. I won't even be there. But yeah.
Okay.
Just preparing you.
I am. I
let me know. Yeah.
I will.
I am. Okay. I can. I will. And you'll have a reminder on that screen too. You'll see.
Okay.
Ready?
I am. I can. I will. Okay. I think so.
Hey, take your time with it. But
okay.
Here you are. Go for it.
Okay. I had it in my head here. I am strong. I can persevere. And I will succeed.
For sure, man. For sure. And now if you ever need a reminder from yourself, we'll have this little sound bite just to keep you on track. But for sure, thank you for participating in the 34th mantra. Moving on to the closeout questions, which this first one is going to be actually from my previous guest. So shout out to Coach Lee. Coach Lee's question for you is, what does it mean to be connected and understood?
I think it means that you can be yourself, even and be vulnerable, showing your what you think is your inadequacies or character defects, and you'll still be accepted.
I got you. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think my answer to this question was like, I hope that my action, like if I act enough and I'm able to I guess show who I am through my actions, I want to get to a point where people don't even have to ask me why I'm doing the things I do. It's like, oh, that's just what he does, or that's how 34 is. And that's, I think, when I'll finally feel fully understood by the world. But I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who still misunderstand what we say, what we do, and why we do things. But I hear you, man, for sure. My second to last question for you is, what would you like to ask the next guest on 34 Questions? You could keep it light, you could go deep. It's all up to you.
If you were to make the biggest impact in the world, what would you do?
Gotcha. Make the biggest impact in the world. It's a lot of pressure.
I like thinking dreaming big.
I hear you, man. Oh, for sure. There's this quote. It's like, the world needs dreamers, the world needs doers, but most importantly, the world needs dreamers that do. I hear you, man. Yeah. For me, the biggest impact, I'm doing this new exercise where I like to answer this last question that you give me. But biggest impact in the world, I want more people to do what I'm doing, having these conversations with people. The big idea for me is that hopefully I can find people who are multilingual and be able to have these conversations in different languages, because right now I'm very limited to English only. But maybe one day I can form a team that can reach every country and continent, and everyone can feel like they're heard and have a place to do something like this. But yeah, and
I like that.
Fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, it helps. There's so much like cancel culture and stuff right now, and you can't say or voice your opinion, but having these conversations really helps with that.
Yeah, and you know, like people come on here, and I think, you know, there's still a degree that they probably fear what they say and stuff, and I just hope, like, my hope is that they can feel it from me, that they can really say anything, and you know, maybe I'll disagree, but I want to talk about it. I want us to talk about it, and I'm not here to change your mind about anything, but it's really just having that space to say how you feel, what you mean, and I think if it's done enough times, we'll just have a better understanding of the people around us, right? Hopefully, that's the goal. But yeah, let's cancel culture. Can we do that? We'll see one day.
Two negatives make a positive.
Exactly. All right, man. My last question for you, the question that ties everything together. 100, 200, 300 years from now, your descendants are watching this video. What would you like to tell them?
I guess. Listen to yourself. Don't be use some critical thinking, and don't be easily swayed by someone else's opinion of yourself, or even about society and culture and stuff. Like, really use some thinking. Is it right or wrong? Don't just listen to what's said.
Show, man. I hear you. I hope they hear you. And thank you for your perspective. Any last things you'd like to add before we head out of here? Where can we find your podcast? Let me start there.
You know what? My podcast is called Psychology with My Wife, and we have it on YouTube, exactly that name, and also on all of the, like, Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, basically everything, under the same name, Psychology with My Wife.
For sure, man. Definitely, I'll check it out. If you can, please send me that link as well, so I could just add it to my description, for any folks out there who might be interested in checking out Psychology with My Wife. But yeah, man. Yeah, anything else you'd like to add before we get out of here?
I don't think so. I guess I'll say one thing. I'm really glad I could have this conversation, and I look forward to hearing more of these conversations. And I agree with you. A lot more people should be having these conversations.
For sure, man. I haven't asked of you, but I'll ask you off camera, so don't worry too much about it.
Okay.
Just want to thank you again, Julien, for stopping by. Definitely a great conversation. And thank you for hearing me out too. I did a lot of talking as well, so I want to thank you for also listening to what I have to say. Want to thank all the folks out there. If you've been watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're checking out the podcast, I want to thank you for your time. Please remember to reach out, reach forward. As always, much love, and we'll catch you guys next time on 34 Questions. Peace. And it fades out from there.